What's up, everybody? I am back again with another Wutang and American Saga review, recap, whatever you want to call it. We're not going to go frame by frame because that could take forever, but I am going to give some top line backgrounds on episode 4 from season 2. What is it called again? It is called, let me look it up. Pioneer the Frontier. Pioneer the Frontier. RZA makes a risky move to squash an old beef. Yeah, that's what happened in this episode, everybody. So let me just start by saying this. I often struggle with television shows and movies that take place in one location. That's just a character flaw of mine. Unless the dialogue is great, I tend to struggle with those types of shows. That's just my personal preference. I like to see scenery in shows. So let's just get into this. So this episode opens up with sort of a spaghetti Western kung fu style movements of the camera. Like we see like a cup like kind of blow by in the wind, kind of like tumbleweed in a Western. So we see what they're trying to do here. You know, like of course it's called the Frontier, you know, like what is it? Pioneer the Frontier is the name of the episode. So keep that in mind. And, you know, this whole episode takes place on a ferry from Staten Island to Manhattan. And so it starts off where, you know, we see RZA kind of pondering in the foreground of the camera. And in the background, we see Sha, a.k.a. also known and loved as Raekwon the Chef. But he's Sha. Well, no, he's now Raekwon. So, you know, he's like in the background talking, kind of babbling. Yo, this shit about to be crazy, son. Who you invite? And, you know, what studio? You know, Raekwon needs the details. Like, what are we doing here? Like, RZA, you're leading me into the wilderness. I'm blind here. I need to know. And then, you know, RZA's like, oh, don't worry about that. Just worry about what you spitting. And, you know, like, so, you know, he hasn't told them much. They just know he knows he's going to record. You know, he had an opportunity to say, well, who else you invite? You know, because that's black people. Black people always wants to know who's going to be there. Because that's how you determine if you're really going somewhere. If you know who's going to be in there. Who's going to be there. So then, you know, we then see Dennis emerges. D Lover. Beloved to us as Ghostface Killer. He emerges and instantly Raekwon is like, what? I ain't in this crew. Who invited this nigga? Like, I ain't in this, you know. And then Ghostface calls him out, like, because Raekwon's like, I ain't in no crew. He's like, you sure was in the crew. You were riding hard for that crew that shot up my home and my family. And Raekwon says, like, you know, son, you know, I wasn't shooting at you. I was shooting at the idea. And everybody's like, huh? So RZA tries, you know, even it out. Well, you know, what he's saying is it was complicated. What? Still don't make sense. So their beef is the center of this episode, everybody. Trying to get them on the same page to join this collective of rappers who are going to take over the world and become this group. So RZA's trying to get these two people together, because they have beef, but he sees them as the nucleus of this group in a sense. Like they're the pieces to the puzzle. So then we see Divine watch this whole interaction. He's in the distance and rocking his 90s Tommy Hilfiger, like, you know, observing. He's like, you sure this gonna work? You know, Divine's very soft smoking. You sure this gonna work? You know, he's like, I guess the voice of reason, if you will, the mind, the brains, the business savvy. So, you know, like we hear an announcement, you know, the ferry is now leaving Staten Island. And so then who emerges out of the dark? Power emerges, wearing his red bomber jacket and his baggy pants and his Timbs. He's dressed like the dudes from the 90s who thought they were sexy, but they still had gangster. Yeah, that's Power. So then, you know, like Dennis and Power meet. They meet up and what was that? Oh yeah, they meet up and, you know, there's an opportunity here for one of these Western shots to be pulled off right? Did they accomplish this? Well, obviously not in my mind, because I'm bringing it up. Because Otherwise, a layman wouldn't even care about these shots. But I do know they're trying to form this to be like this whole Westernese meeting of the minds. Like, ooh, who's gonna, it's like this game of chicken. Like, who is going to fold first? So we see, Dennis and Power have beef, right? So we kind of see Power emerge. They kind of zoom in. And they kind of zoom in on Ghost, Dennis, and they zoom in. But to me, it's like it wasn't as effective as it could have been. And that's just my art director eye. I feel like they should have stayed zoomed in on their eyes and kind of eased back, pulled out a little bit to then them meeting up together, because that would have been more dramatic. But, whatever. They did what they had to do. They did what they did. That's just me being overly critical of, whatever. So then, Ghostface is still caught up on these dudes trying to take out his family. As he should be. How can you work with somebody who tried to kill you and yours? Where do they do that? Anyhow, RZA and Divine meet up. This episode is a whole bunch of... It's like a slow speed chase, if you will. It's like a crossing paths, but missing, if you will. It's like everybody just walking around the entire episode, walking around this ferry. And I'm just like, stay put. Sit down and wait for this ferry ride to be over. But no, they have business to take care of. So, so they meet up, and, Divine's questioning, why this nigga? Why Power? And forgive me, everybody, for using the N-word, but they use the N-word so often on the show. I just have to if I'm going to give you an accurate review. So, like, why Power? And RZA's like, yo, he got them streets on lock, nigga. And he's like, and you trying to say that I don't know the streets? No, nigga, you are business mind. You're off these streets. I need your business mind, for this collective. So it's already, they're establishing Power and RZA not as rappers, but as the minds, the business savvy ones of the group. Power being more street savvy, more in tune, because he has not only people in Staten Island, he got people in Brooklyn and Harlem, I believe, wherever, Bronx, whatever. One of those some of those boroughs, like, Power has it on lock. And Power came from a decent family. His father would own like a clothing shop or something. I think they established when they shot it up. But, so he came from a decent... He's like the kid who came from a decent home who wanted to be hard. And, he's on them streets, right? So, anyhow, RZA, walks through the ferry as they keep walking. And he, like, stops because this guy on the violin playing... is Woo motherfucker. Wutang, and he's playing the sample of Reunited, which was on Wutang Forever album, which is like, is this RZA trying to do like, I'm making a mental note. I'm going to use that beat one day. That's the mental note, I guess, that they're trying to convey. I don't know. That's just what I took from it. Because he's like... So that's, that was going on throughout the show. He would come back like, oh, the violin's playing again. So then, we see this guy who also is a common theme throughout the show. He's like Lenny from Good Times. He's peddling stuff, everything from videos of White Man Can't Jump to, that hit movie with Grace Jones and Halle Berry. What movie? You mean that Eddie Murphy movie called Boomerang with that Grace Jones and Halle Berry happen to be in? I thought that was funny because he just totally put a spin on it, and like he was like trying to push White Man Can't Jump to a white man, but the way he put the spin on it was funny. We laugh. So then this guy's selling everything, and I guess he's supposed to be like the wisdom of the episode. I guess I'm still not 100% sure. Maybe somebody can drop into the comments and tell me what his true purpose was. I know he had a gun, so he does sell everything. Everything's for sale. So then, they keep reminding us on camera that they are strapped. Like, they lift up their shirt like, yeah, I got a gun. Whatever, I got a gun. We get it. So, this episode is really just about him rallying the troops. He's like, so basically, it's like I said before, it's like a low speed chase. Like, Ghost, should I go, shoot Shy, or whatever his name is at this point, he's Raekwon right now. Should I go shoot him or not? Because it's always like they get cut off when they're about to make their move, right? So, this episode, to me, I just think what they're doing is, from a production stance, they're just dragging out this Wu-Tang story. And it's entertaining, I will say this, but I do see them for their works. You're dragging out this story episode by episode, because a lot of this could have happened in maybe 2-3 episodes. Everything that's happened, season 1 could have been a 2-episode story, but they dragged it out for, what was it, how many episodes? 6, 8 to 10 episodes? I'm not sure. Anyhow, we're on episode 4, and the group has yet to truly be established. We have some components of the group, meaning we have RZA, Ghostface, Raekwon. We have the business side of it, Divine and Power. So we see that RZA is still trying to convince Vince. RZA and Raekwon meet up again, and he tries to convince him, like, we gotta get together, and Raekwon's like, yo, this ain't no sandwich, nigga. If it was the last sandwich on earth, I wouldn't share with him. See, this is what I'm talking about, lazy writing. I'm not expecting it to be like stellar Academy Award writing, but it's like these like analogies, personifications, and all this stuff. It's like, really? Let's do a little bit better. But I'm entertained. So that's all that matters. I'm entertained. I was entertained on a Friday night in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, it's still a pandemic for some. It's still going on, everybody. Anyhow, so RZA continues, and like he said, so you Jet Li and Dennis is Clint Eastwood, and Ghostface is like, yo, this ain't no movie, son. And then, he keeps trying to convince them. So then Ray walks off and runs into some random lady on a ferry who happens to have groceries. But, that's what they used to do in, like, old movies. Like, they would just have something random happen. And so I'm assuming that's what the director was trying to do. And so then, Divine and Power come together. And here's where it gets weird for me. Like, this scene, they were actually, coming to an agreement, and they were like kind of reminiscing on things that happened with their friendship in the past. And it just felt weird to me. Like, it was almost like when the music started playing under, it felt like they were flirting with each other. Am I the only one who felt that? Because it was just kind of weird. And I guess maybe it was the actor who plays Divine. Is it his eyes and the way he leaned in? I swear I felt like they were about to kiss at one point. So then it's like it's like they locked eyes. So then, we hear, we see RZA again, and then we hear over the PA speaker on the ferry, like, and it now is representing a voice in RZA's head, which I thought was weird because they weren't doing that throughout the episode. Had they been doing that from jump, like the voice on the PA is representing thoughts, it would have made sense, but whatever. So finally, he gets them all together, finally, they get together, and he gives this long 10-minute speech about, like comparing them to Noah's Ark and blah, 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 how they all came from broken homes and they all been on the streets hustling, and that has no real shelf life, has an expiration date, and, and he starts making comparisons between elks and lions, and, Ghost like, who you calling a elk, nigga? And, it's like, whatever. So, like, he basically tells them, shut the F up. In the name of Allah, music brought you here. Music brought you here, brought you here. And then, like, they look off into the distance, and, they see Staten Island. And then Ghost was like, man, I ain't seen Staten Island so long. And RZA's like, this ain't Staten Island, it's Shaolin. And the episode ends with the, like, the episode kind of fades out from them and live action to cartoon animation, and it looks like the Shaolin, like Staten Island now looks like Shaolin. So it ends. Overall, the episode was entertaining. I questioned some of the writing and some of the the directional things going on, but overall I'm gonna keep watching because why? I love Wu-Tang and I love hip hop, and I do like, and I said in my earlier video, how they do nods to other hip hop during that era. Like in the beginning, Raekwon was saying, I saw Eric, in the studio. His next, we got to get together like Hit Squad, like Tribe Called Quest, like Leaders of the New School, So like they were giving, recognition to the other groups of that era. And they happened to, as far as, I guess, worldwide notoriety, surpass most of those groups. So Wutang Saga, an American Saga. Get into it. All right. Bye.